Most people are terrified to sit in their own thoughts, let alone writing them down. It's why we stay distracted, whether it's music, our phones, substances, or just constant noise. But slow down long enough and write honestly, and you'll begin to see things more clearly. And clarity can change everything. So hang with me and find a practical way to find power in your own pen. Welcome back to Undivided. I'm your host, Adam Maxwell, where we talk about rebuilding your life through faith, discipline, and adventure. Today, we're going to be talking about unleashing the power of your own words through journaling. Journaling is a great way to really be honest with yourself, becoming self-aware, finding emotional clarity, and having deep self-reflection, which none of that is truly very easy, because being truly honest with yourself and writing it down and rereading it isn't always the most simple thing to do. But journaling serves as a priceless tool for creative, scientific, and personal breakthroughs, which we're after. Before you think journaling is beneath you, let's look at some people in history and people from today that are known to have journaled at some point in their lives, or their entire lives for that matter. First person we can talk about is Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci filled thousands of notebook pages, intricate sketches, and conceptual designs for flying machines and all other kinds of inventions. Albert Einstein kept the meticulous notes, exploring physics theories, mental models, and complex scientific problems. Charles Darwin, he had a detailed description of his personal journey and voyages on the HMS Beagle, serving as the foundation for his theory of evolution. Marco Polo documented 24 years of his journeys through Asia to become the book of the marvels of the world. Anne Frank, she wrote the most iconic diary while hiding in Amsterdam during the Holocaust. And some people from today, we have Matthew McConaughey, who he started journaling when he was 14, and I only wished I would have. I'm pretty new to it myself. I've been journaling for about the last year or so, and it's helped me find clarity. But beside that, Matthew McConaughey used it. He used it to write down poems, personal notes, and deep reflections in life, and it was truly the foundation of his own personal memoir. It's Greenlight. David Goggins, he's an ultramarathoner. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but pretty impressive individual. He was a Navy SEAL, and he had a strict accountability ledger. And he states that your journal needs to be brutally honest, and you cannot put BS in there. Quote. Michael Phelps, he is the most decorated Olympian of all time. And he utilized it as a dedicated performance and mindset journal, logging daily training, benchmarks, deep fears, and highly specific visualization cues to prime him for high-stakes competitions. Elon Musk, he uses a form of mental and written journaling modeled after his first principles thinking, breaking massive problems down into simple written components to clear brain clutter. And these are just a few of many successful individuals or prominent people that we know of that are known to have journaled. And there's countless people that we don't know of or that aren't famous that journal every single day to help them remove clutter from their own brains and to really be able to put their thought to paper and come up with solutions to their problems and solutions to their mental state. And one thing that you can see is that all these people use journaling for different reasons, but there is one common theme to that journaling that they were doing. It helped them all share themselves with the world at their highest level. So stop running from yourself and start rewriting your future today. And that just gets us into, you got all these people that are famous that are running around and journaling about themselves and about their lives and about their theories and their thoughts and their processes, and it allowed them to become some of the highest functioning people on earth, and sharing some of the deepest and craziest stories that you could imagine, um, and coming up with theories that nobody has ever thought of before. Everybody thinks that every thought has already been thought, and every invention's already been invented, but it couldn't be further from the truth. You could be the next Elon Musk for all we know. But if you don't give yourself a chance by writing it down, then how will you ever figure this out? But the question really is, why do most men avoid journaling in the first place, especially this day and age? Well, it's easy to be distracted nowadays. There's always something in your face, whether it's your phone, television, there's something in your ears. Like I've said before in earlier episodes, the world is moving at a million miles an hour, and we all just need to slow down a little bit so that we can take the time to work on ourselves for everybody around us. But a lot of men are just afraid of the honesty with themselves. They're afraid of what they may find. They're afraid of having to deal with those demons. They're afraid of having to deal with that monster that they know that is caged at the moment. But when you aren't honest with yourself, and you're not getting these things out of your brain, you can't untangle the mess if you don't start by writing it out and figuring out, where does this thread begin. Emotional avoidance is a big thing, because a lot of men think that emotions are weakness. But if you don't have control of your faculties of your emotions, then all you're going to get is anger. All you're going to get is frustration. All you're going to get is the negative, or the negative masculine side of a person or a man. And you even look at it like as though men are denying oneself, right? They can't believe they're broken enough to have to do this, or they'll just deal with it, or I'll just suck it up and be a man, which, sometimes that's what you do need to do. But if you're struggling every single day to even want to wake up the next day, then there's something deeper to that problem. And at the end of the day, if you give yourself a little time in the silence, you can, that awakens the beast, you can find a way to tame that beast and become an extremely devoted father, devoted friend, and devoted family member to the people that are around you, or the individuals that aren't your family or friends, the people that need you. If you tame that beast and you learn how to control him, you can take on the world at full speed. But right now, that's kind of hard to do. And I used to write a lot of poetry and a lot of lyrics. I loved Eminem. I loved hip hop back in the day. I loved to sing. And sadly, there was a time in my life where I lived my life in chaos. I mean, in a lot of my life in chaos, really. And I remember having all these books, all these notepads that I would write my lyrics in, write my poems in, and a lot of that stuff really was like tied to being messed up and living in chaos and partying and being on drugs. And a lot of the lyrics and stuff, you get your brain going on stimulants, and you can really sit there for a long time and ignore the world and write down a lot of stuff. But I remember this one book that I had, and on the front of the book, I wrote, "Don't listen to the silence." And that can't be further from the truth. But I didn't know it then. I was just a young kid. I was 18, 19 years old. I just didn't know how the world worked, and I didn't know how emotions worked, and I didn't know how, to handle the emotions that I did have. I hid them. I hid them behind the veil of alcohol, drugs, or distraction at all times. Whether I covered myself with substances, women, parties, and work especially. I always worked hard. If I wasn't at work, I was hanging out with somebody and partying and just trying to ignore reality, trying to ignore the real problems that were out there. But after a long weekend of partying and being up for, 4 days straight, essentially, I had a moment where I realized something needed to change. And I took it upon myself to have a ceremony by myself with all these notebooks and all this information that I had written down and all this hard work. And I decided that I had to burn it all. I burnt it because I thought, okay, if I just eliminate this, it's going to eliminate that part of my life, and I can move on, and I can eliminate this habit that I've created these negative habits, and let's get rid of one habit at a time. And it worked at the time. It helped me move beyond that version of myself, and I stopped doing the drugs that I was doing at that time, and I moved forward. But it doesn't mean that I didn't just, cut out one habit to replace it with another habit that didn't help me actually truly get to where I needed to be. And that's the hardest part sometimes. But I hadn't written hardly anything down since then. And just recently I've begun to do that again. And it's allowed me to really, get these thoughts out of my head, make sense of them, and come up with a plan to better my life, to have something to aim for. Even if I am 41 years old, doesn't mean that I don't have new and better things that I want to tackle. But the thing that really stood out to me when I think of that story is the don't listen to the silence part of it. And the silence is exactly what you need in order to figure everything out. But once you start into that silent mode of life and sitting within your own thoughts without any distractions whatsoever, there's a lot of stuff that comes up, a lot of emotions, a lot of real trauma, a lot of real feelings, a lot of real situations that you lived through that you have been ignoring. And I just want to be able to give you a little bit of an easier way to work forward and write your journals, because a person's like, well, where do I even start, right? And what does journaling actually do for me? What journaling can do for you is it can organize your thoughts. It can expose patterns and unconscious habits that you have going on that are a detriment to your life. It can help you regulate your emotions by getting some of this garbage out of your head and giving room for other thought processes to occur. I talked about it in last episode, where if you're living your life in such a manner where you're doing the same thing over and over and over, your brain only has so much room in there, or you've only created, so many pathways for your brain to hold on to X amount of information, that it just doesn't give you enough room to really process some of these feelings and some of these emotions. So it helps clear your mind, and you can track your growth through time. I found that maybe not one of the hardest parts about it, but going back and rereading some of the stuff that you've put in there, you got to do that part too, right? Yeah, sure, you can barf it out onto a piece of paper, but if you just put it there and forget about it, it's just like your brain forgetting about it. You got to go back and you got to look at some of these things and track your growth and seeing how you're writing differently and how you're doing things differently each day to become the best version of yourself. And it can slow the reactive thinking and behaviors. It can make it so that you really have resolute thought processes that you can actually take in a scenario or a situation that's happening in front of you instead of just reacting. You really are able to think through the process quickly and utilize better behaviors in that situation. And your mind is chaotic until you force your thoughts into words sometimes, right? It just kind of all bounces around in there. It can, like I say, it can be this big, wad of thread. And when you start your journaling process or your journaling journey, you find the end of that thread, right? And you find that, and you start figuring it out, and you start unwinding this mess that's inside of your head. So that chaos that's going on in there, writing this all down allows you to get that under control more than it is already today. And some people, like I said, some people are like, well, I don't need to write a journal. And you think about like, oh, dear diary. And it doesn't need to be that, right? It doesn't need to be, oh, dear diary, I had a terrible, terrible day. It can be, though, too. Depends on what the hell's going on in your head at that moment, right? Like, what do you need to talk to yourself, or what do you need to get out of your brain, and to be able to come up with a new process to deal with the behavior, deal with the situations that are around you. And journaling has begun to help me especially in my rebuilding period, like right now. I'm in a rebuilding period today as we speak. Um, I had my surgery on my back. I thought, I got frustrated with it and I was angry with it, but I prayed on it and I had things occur in my life and I saw a new opportunity. And once I started writing these things down, I saw this opportunity that was ahead of me, podcasting. Here we are. And I was able to put thoughts on a piece of paper and come up with like what I wanted to do, how I wanted to handle it, getting thoughts out of my head so that I didn't lose them. Because, like I've said, thoughts are fleeting. You can have a thought one moment, and then later on that day, you're like, "Oh, you know what? I had this idea," and you forget, man. And not to say that you have to have a journal in your back pocket at all times, but you can have a little notepad or whatever to throw out some of these thoughts onto that piece of paper, and then you can go back and you can kind of work on it in your true journal and do that. So through my rebuilding processes, like right now, it's really helped me to be able to engage with you and to find the path that I really want to take with what I'm trying to accomplish, or what we're trying to accomplish, to creating a better society and a better group of men. It allows me to reflect on my failures. Like when I first started this thing, I was really relying a lot on the internet and a lot on AI to kind of come up with some plans and some ideas for me. And it came up with some ideas for me that in the moment felt good and right, and it felt like the right thing to do. But after I sat down and thought it out and I wrote it down, I got to reflect on the idea a little bit deeper rather than just, letting my brain agree with the computer. To coming to a realization that it wasn't a great idea, because instead of trying to, make it so that people's hearts were undivided, it really was portraying an idea of division that I wasn't shooting for. But with the help of friends and the help of their ideas as well, helped me, see what it started to become something that wasn't the plan. And without the help of my friends and the people around me and sitting down and actually writing it out and coming up with a really good and decisive plan, I might have done something stupid. I might have wrecked my own life. I might have wrecked other people's lives. I might have changed. I might have been a part of the problem more than a solution. And that saved my butt, because the thoughts were a failure. Even though it wasn't a catastrophic failure, it was a failure nonetheless. And that's just one of the recent moments. Like I say, I haven't been doing journaling for a long time, but ever since I have been, it has 100% shown a positive in my life without a question. Going through business struggles, getting out of the business that I'm in, of carpentry. I might do, handyman stuff for a long period of time and help people, but I don't want to destroy my body through construction. I have too many things that I enjoy doing with my wife and my kids that I just want to keep going with. I've had a little bit of time to do some reflecting with the back surgery, having to be off work for 12 weeks. I could have made this all a nightmare. I could have sat there and done nothing and drank more often and gone into substance use and not done anything with it. And most people around me would have just been like, yeah, that's fine. We get it. You're recovering from surgery. You don't have to do much. You just got to recover. But it could have really turned into a spiral downward easily. But through faith and through, taking my time to get my thoughts out and really saying, okay, what else in life have I really loved to do? And that's help people. And here we are trying to do that. And one of the big things that journaling has done for me is allowed me to write down things that out of the Bible, right? Verses out of the Bible and scripture and parts of it that I don't want to forget, that I don't want to miss. Like I can go back to and be like, yeah, that was really, really good for me. That was really deep. And it actually happened to me this morning. I'll bust out one real quick. I mean, I really enjoyed reading this part, and it's 1 Kings 20, 10 through 21. You can go in and read the whole thing yourself if you'd like to, but basically what it boils down to is spiritual growth is endangered whenever our judgment is impaired. Um, it goes into the story of Ahab and how he's fighting a war with, what's his name? Like I said, I'm not a theologian, so it takes me a little bit of time here to get some of these thoughts out. So um, Ahab was going to war with Ben-Hadad, and Ben-Hadad wanted to take on Ahab, and Ahab had God behind him, and Ahab got his army ready, and he went, and they essentially surprised Ben-Hadad and his army, because Ben-Hadad and all the other kings were getting drunk in their tents while Ahab had brought his army, and they decimated Ben-Hadad's army because they were drunk. They weren't able to make clear and concise decisions, and that goes, back to almost everything that I've been talking about too. Is that when you're impaired, you're just, that's when failure can really come and kick you right in the butt. But the part that I loved the most about it was this Ben-Hadad was just talking smack, saying, I'm going to come and destroy you. I'm going to take all your women. I'm going to take all your children. I'm going to take all your gold and silver. And he was just looking for a fight. And it's 1 Kings 20, verse 11, and it says, and this is Ahab talking to Ben-Hadad, and he says, the king answered, and he says, tell him, one who puts his armor on should not boast like one who takes it off. So somebody who's going to sit there and talk crap, like they've already won this war, they've already won the argument, and they haven't yet. That stuck with me a little bit. But I would have forgot it. There's so much in here, or any book for that matter, something that you really enjoy reading and you want to keep some of these great thoughts in your head. That's where a journal comes into place. And half the problem or half the difficulty is, what do you actually write about? What are you going to put in that journal? And who do you want to become, I guess, is the question that you need to answer. Is like, who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? What's your goal in the long term? So really, a journal could be all kinds of stuff. Like we discussed earlier about all the individuals that had journals in their lives. You know what I mean? Leonardo da Vinci to all the rest that were in there, Matthew McConaughey, all of them, they all kind of wrote or had it there for them for different purposes. But one main goal is to, take themselves to the highest version of themselves that they possibly could. And journaling allowed them to do that. Some of the most influential people that have ever walked the planet, and some that are just you and me sitting back trying to make sense of this mess of a world. So who do you want to become, and what are you trying to accomplish? I guess is the first thing that you really got to figure out. Is write down a paragraph or a sentence. Who do you want to become, right? I want to become a motivational speaker. I want to become a great person to help others. I want to become the best father that I can possibly be. I want to be sober. I want to be an astrophysicist. I want to be a paleontologist. I want to be like, what are you doing it for? That's the first thing you need to answer yourself. I can't answer that for you. But if you're not sure at all what the heck you want to do it for, or exactly what you want to do it for, maybe all you want to do is make life a little easier, make your life a little better, and understand yourself a little better. And if that's where you're at, and you're not exactly sure what you want to do, there's five hard questions to answer, but they're easy questions, essentially. But I learned something from a professor of mine, or an instructor, Mr. Joyner, and he always said, keep it simple, stupid. And that was for like report writing for law enforcement. Keep it simple, stupid, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Keeping it simple in the beginning is going to be your success. Because if you try to make it too difficult, like I mean, in mine, in the beginning, I was trying to write these big, long entries, and it was taking a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I kept falling behind. In the beginning, right? Like, because you're like, oh, do I have time for all this crap? And half the time you feel like you don't. But if you keep it simple, stupid, and you just write down a handful of questions that you can ask yourself, and you put these down on a piece of paper, and you say, okay, I'm going to answer these questions each day and see how things go from there. And then you can change it and manipulate it however you see fit. So 5 hard/easy questions to ask yourself daily. And these are easy. They're simple. And I have a whole bunch of other ones, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. And you can go out and you can find them yourself, or you can ask your own questions to yourself. You can go online now and you can get a whole plethora of questions. I went on and I found some that I thought were awesome and valid, and things that I didn't think of, because the beauty of all these human beings out there is we connect, right? And that's how cumulative knowledge has created the world that we live in today. Not one single human has well, until you get biblically, right? Like, not one single person beyond Jesus has gone and changed the world all alone. They may have changed an aspect of it, but somebody may have invented an item, but it took multiple people to create it, right? Really, to bring it to life. But okay, off I go. 5 hard, easy questions to ask yourself daily. And they're so easy. They're simple questions. What did I do well today? Right? So what did you do good today? What was something that you did that was good? Let's start with good. And then you can ask about the bad. And then you can ask yourself, where did I fall short? I was trying to accomplish something. Maybe there's a later question here that allows you to answer that question easier as time goes on. Where did I fall short? What is one thing I can improve for tomorrow? And that might be the thing you fell short of, but it doesn't mean, failure is the fastest way to learn how to do something correctly, right? Like, I try with my kids to hand down wisdom. My dad did the same for me, and his dad did the same for him. But you try to hand down wisdom, or the cheat code for your kids. You're like, hey man, if you just, are respectful to your roommate and blah, 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 and you give them the cheat code to life, I'd say probably most of the time it's one in one ear and out the other. Every once in a while it'll stick, but they got to go figure it out for themselves. So they may fail and then find out, holy crap, I do need to work 2 jobs to pay my rent. So what is one thing I can improve for tomorrow? Who am I becoming through my daily actions? And you need to be honest with yourself, right? Like, if you have a goal, like if you can write down your goal and who you want to become, page 1. Then you can answer these questions. And who am I becoming through my daily actions? And if you're still repeating these unconscious behaviors and you're still utilizing these poor behaviors as an adult from these patterns from growing up, you might be becoming the same person, or becoming a worse person through your daily actions. And you need to be honest. Are you becoming what you want through your daily actions? Answer it. And a good one, especially if you have youngsters running around, or siblings or anything else that are younger than you, or people that are just around you, your coworkers, What kind of example was I for those who are watching? If you get done with work and you go and you sit in your shop and you chug beers until, dinner time, and then, your kid watches you do that every single day, they mimic us. They're like little ducklings, right? Sometimes they don't follow exactly what you're doing, but oftentimes they do. So, what kind of example was I for those who are watching? I've got 100 other questions that I did write down here just because I think that they're pretty good. But I think we might cover those later, or we can go into it. But I mean, emotional and self-awareness. What triggered me today? What emotions keep repeating? Was there a moment I would have liked to have reacted differently today? Right? Did you do something stupid? Did you act like a fool? Were you a jerk? Were you funny when you shouldn't have been? Like anything. How should you have reacted differently today? I mean, if you're honest with yourself, every single day there's something that you should have done a little bit differently. I'm sure of it. Habits and discipline. What habits are helping me? What habits are hurting me? Where am I choosing comfort over growth? That comfort, right? Like going and sitting in that chair. Dang right, it's comfortable. Why do you call it a lazy boy? Because it's easy to be lazy in that. Boy, it's good. And if you're just going to go and choose these comforts over doing more for yourself and the people that are around you, then that's on you, boy. Identity and self-awareness. Who am I when nobody's watching? We're all a little bit different when nobody's watching, right? Once you're out there on the playing field or you're on the stage, we might not say a thing that we would have said with the boys or with the girls. Either way, right? Locker room talk. Everybody does it. And as soon as you're out on the stage and it slips out and you say something stupid, now everybody comes in like a swarm of wasps and tries to take you out. That's annoying. We weren't all meant to be superstars. We weren't all meant to be movie stars. And now everybody's got a camera, and at any moment you could become that new sensation or that monster that everybody's trying to take out, right? So, who are you when nobody is watching? And you don't have to share this with anybody. This is for you. So be real, be honest, no BS, real. What part of myself am I proud of? What parts of myself am I avoiding? This is for self-awareness. It's a big part of it. Goals and direction. Where are you headed? What do you want to do? What direction do you want to go? You want to go down? You want to go up? I prefer up. I really do. Unless I'm snowboarding. Well, I like going down and sometimes hitting jumps and going up, but then back down, right? Like that's different. But for in life, do you want to be a worse version of you, or do you want to be a better version? Worse is down, better's up usually. What do I actually want in life? What do you actually want? What do you actually want to be? Talked about it before, being put into a box, right? Like you're getting put into a box sometimes, or you have been put into a box throughout your life, and as you become an adult, you get to break out of that box and become what you want to be. Something you've always wanted. I mean, do you want to go get a degree? Do you want to go, become a pilot? I would love to be a pilot. I want to get my pilot's license so bad I can't even tell you. Thankfully, I still have the blessing of great vision for now. But as I get older, I'm sure that'll wane. What habits are helping me become who I want to be? What things are you doing each day that are helping you? Not having that drink when you're done, going for that morning walk, morning run, exercising, learning how to cook, learning how to clean, learning how to take care of yourself, managing your time. What is helping you become what you want to be? What habits are slowly destroying your future? Popping that beer at the end of the day, smoking all that weed throughout the day or at the end of the day, like all those things, your brain, it's that easy button, right? It's that comfort. Your brain is going to try to take you to comfort. in bad habits. It's easy for it to just kind of take you there. You have the cues to get you there, and then you develop the behavior, and then you develop the habit. Um, and before you know it, it's easy to go to that habit. And we want to get away from that. So what habits are slowly destroying your future? And faith, right? You jump into faith. Write down your favorite prayers. Make up your own prayers, right? I'm working on that. It's hard, kind of, but I'm praying for me. I'm praying for my family. Like, it's pretty easy, really. And they don't have to be perfection. None of this needs to be perfect. What is God teaching me through my current struggles and trials? Write down some of this crap that's, making you angry, pissing you off, making life feel difficult. But what is God trying to teach you? What lesson is being learned through the trial that you're going through in the moment? Is it for good? I bet it is. We all have to work for the good things that come in our lives. If something flops down in your lap and it just seems too good to be true, I'm guessing there's some kind of a string attached to it. You picture that guy that's chasing the dollar bill with the, on the string, right? That's that. And when you get to wherever that string leads to, usually it's not going to be a good place. So if there's something that just falls into your lap, oftentimes it's not as good as you think it's going to be, or there's strings attached, or they're going to take advantage of you. So examine some of your struggles you're going through right now and figure out what is God trying to teach me in this trial, rather than being like, why have you forsaken me? And write down when you feel closest to God, or farthest. There's days where I feel like, the antenna doesn't reach, but it's just the bad stuff out there getting in the way. And when it comes to journaling, you don't need to journal to sound smart. You journal to be honest with yourself. It doesn't need to be perfect. And journaling is a great way to gain your emotional intelligence, right? Your emotional regulation. You get these thoughts out on paper, you can come up with a solution or a plan. I'm hyper aware and hyper vigilant all the time. It's one of my traits that I developed as a child. Sometimes I'm thankful for it. Other times I'm like, I don't think I need to know where the exit is at this birthday party. But it helps with your emotional regulation, where you can write it down, you can come up with a plan, or you can come up with an idea that then will stick, and you can regulate how you're handling the world better, because you actually have a thought process to it, rather than just these fleeting thoughts that come in one side of your brain, bing, 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 bong, bing, bing, like a dang pinball machine, and then they get lost in there, or they just go away. It allows you to be able to really take a situation that you had that was difficult and come up with a good hypothesis and theory and why and when and who, what, where, why, when, how, and become a better individual that way. It helps you, again, with, like, instead of reacting to a situation and being a reactor and blowing your top, it allows you to take a situation and respond instead of react. Responding to a situation is greater than reacting to it. It's like, what do the police officers do, the fire department do? They respond to an emergency. They don't react to the emergency. They show up, they have a plan, they have ways of executing said plan in order to come out with the most optimal outcome. And that came from people writing things down. I mean, think about it. It wasn't, there obviously is some verbal information that travels, right? But since we've learned to write as human beings and actually be able to communicate to each other, writing it down has really taken us to the next level. It helps you understand your triggers. You have a situation that happens in your day, you write that crap down, and you realize, oh, Well, I guess it really bothers me when Jim is smacking his lunch and I want to rip the sandwich out of his mouth, right? Like, that's a trigger to you. So maybe you don't sit by Jim and eat lunch. Or you say, hey, Jim, bruh, my family always said it was polite to not smack your food. I'd appreciate it if you could maybe not do that. Everybody's so dang afraid to actually talk to somebody about these situations, or a problem anymore, because they're going to be reacted on and not responded to, because people aren't doing this stuff. They're not developing their emotional intelligence. Do you want to be that? Do you want to be that dink that doesn't know how to respond properly? You want to be that guy that flips out on other people and everybody wants to stay away from? Or do you want to go down a path that allows you to be able to have people around you that appreciate your presence and see that you are a dominating figure, or a person in that room that commands the room rather than demands it? Again, there's a difference there. You can demand everybody's attention, but if you command it, they will listen and they will see the power in you, and they will see the amazing and awesome masculine individual that's there to be there for the betterment of society. And you can start to see your patterns. You can start to see your crappy patterns. You can start to see your good patterns. And then you get to, again, you write it down and you see these patterns and stuff. You're going to start to really be able to respond to every situation better, and be a greater version of yourself. It's like I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. But there's a reason for that. It's because all of this stuff is intertwined. And if you have a photographic memory and you can remember every thought that you've ever had, and you are the smartest person in the room every single time, then this message isn't for you, I guess. But there's very few of those individuals, even the smartest of the smart, right? Even the smartest of the smart. You meet some of these individuals out there. My wife is in the medical field, and I've met some just pretty incredible individuals, crazy backgrounds, coming from, second and third world countries, and going to college and becoming, there's one guy that loved to do dishes. He loved working in restaurants, but he was, a savant, super intelligent. And he came to the United States and went to college, and he became a brain surgeon, right? One of the most down-to-earth brain surgeons I think you'll probably ever run across. But, it's kind of a rare breed, because it takes so much of that person's brain usually to focus on the excitingly demanding task that they have every single day, that there's a different part of that individual that it, kind of lacks, right? Whether it's communication with other human beings in a normal fashion, whether it's, mundane tasks like tying their own shoes. I think it was Albert Einstein that didn't like to tie his own shoes. I don't know if they said that he couldn't do it. I've heard also that he didn't do it because he felt as though it was a waste of his time, whatever it may be. But people are good at some things and terrible at others. Let's just try to become well-rounded, in general. It really can help everybody around you. Because if you are, like I said, that guy or that woman that has it all figured out, I'm not sure what you're here for, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Maybe you're the one that knows somebody that does need a little bit of this portrayed in their life. Um, and most people repeat their unconscious cycles because they've never slowed down long enough to examine themselves. So they just keep kind of doing the same thing, that comfortable cycle, the unconscious behaviors, the things that just happen. Like I say, you get out of the truck, you grab the lunch pail, you slam the door, you take that breath, you slowly saunter into the house. I hope your kids are happy to see you. Daddy! You know what I'm saying? That's the stuff. And you walk to the fridge and you open that fridge and you crack that beer and you start drinking it, and you don't stop until they stop. It's an unconscious cycle. It's the easiest behavior, right? It's easy to do that. I don't know how many times I get done with a long day and in my head I'm like, I'm going to go have a beer. But I'm like, but I have all these other things to do that are more important first. And I'm like, I'm going to do the more important stuff first. I'm not going to, no, I'm going to wait. And then oftentimes I wait and then I just, the evening happens and I don't even open a beer, which is great. It's not that easy for everybody, you know. It wasn't easy for me at a period of time either. So stop repeating those unconscious cycles. Take a little bit of time to slow down and examine yourself. Again, you don't need to share this journal with anybody. It does not need to be perfect. It can be sloppy. You can have crappy handwriting. As long as you can read it and understand it, that's all that really matters. As long as you get these thoughts out of your head, you might come up with the $1 million idea for all you know. I hope I do. I mean, not that I need $1 million. Doesn't sound half bad though, does it? But I, my one of my first journals, I just went and got a sketchbook. I've got a secondary one here. It's just ugly little, $8 book, sketch diary. It doesn't have lines in it because then I can do whatever I want in there. I mean, you don't have to draw within the lines if you don't want to, but it just allows me to kind of write wherever I want. Lets me be a little bit chaotic minded because I am already. And they're cheapish for the most part. Good paper too. I like nice thick paper to be able to write on, because you get the cheap stuff and it bleeds through and whatever. I'm getting into it a little too deep, but this diary, that's not a diary, this journal of mine, I've really leaned into utilizing it for faith and reflection thereof. When I go for my walks, I like to write down some of the ideas and some of the responses I get when I pray. Prayer journaling, writing down scripture. John 8:47. Whoever belongs to God hears what God says. The reason you do not hear is that you do not belong to God. And that just, reiterates the fact that if you're not a Christian, then that's your choice to be. But if you're not a Christian, then you're not gonna partake in the feast. You're not gonna partake in the Word of God, and you don't want to in most cases. But I was that way for many, many years of my life. You got to get in there and write down some of the things that you're grateful for. Tell God why you're grateful and you have gratitude for the blessings that have been bestowed upon you, and hear yourself clearly. Right? Write these things down as though God is standing right next to you, because generally He is. I can right now actually I can hear a helicopter. It's med flight. We live near Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and oftentimes we hear that helicopter, and I try to throw up a prayer, for those people that are in that helicopter. I can hear it right now, and but slow down with God. Take your time to read the Bible. Take your time to write down your favorite passages throughout your journal. See if you can't find them where they make sense in there, right? And sitting alone in your own thoughts. And I came across a prayer the other day that kind of really hits the nail on the head here with what we're talking about, and that's sitting with yourself, sitting in your own silence, and taking time to hear God, hear the answers that you need. And I'll read it to you now. Heavenly Father, there are moments when the silence feels louder than the noise, when the room is still, and I'm all alone with my thoughts. It's easy to wonder if anyone sees or understands. But in this quiet, I turn my heart towards you. You are the one who never leaves. the one who is near, even when no one else is. Loneliness has a way of whispering lies. It says I've been forgotten. It tells me I'm invisible. But you, Lord, remind me what is true, that I am seen, known, and deeply loved by you. You are not far off. You are here. You are the God who sits with me in silence, the one who understands what my heart cannot say. Wrap me in your presence, Lord. Let me feel you with me in a real way. Fill the silence with your peace. Speak to my soul and remind me that I belong to you. Help me to recognize that your companionship is the greatest gift I could receive. Thank you for being the one who sees me, stays with me, and loves me fully. With you, I am never truly alone. In Jesus' name, amen. And whether you believe it or not, that's your choice, but I hope you do. I pray you do. But you hear these prayers and just know that even if you're not a Christian, even if you're not a Buddhist, even if you're not, if you're an atheist, you don't believe in anything, the Big Bang, like life coming from non-life, if that's your belief, that's fine. But if you listen to those words, it's easy to see that everybody has the same fears and everybody has the same worries. And everybody feels lonely from time to time or feels lonely all the time. Like people don't understand them or get them. They don't feel their pain. They don't feel their ways. But we're all so much more alike than we like to say. We're all so much more alike than we like to admit. That's the idea of being undivided. It's not that you don't have different opinions. It's not that you don't see things differently, and that's fine. You get to see things differently. That's the beauty of being human. But when you utilize your differences and you come together and you gang up on people because they don't see it the way that you see it, that doesn't make you any better than the worst person out there. Just because people agree with the way that you see things doesn't mean that the people that don't agree with you are the enemy. And that's the issue today. Everybody thinks that the other person's an enemy. They've been pitting us against each other for far too long. They've been making us hate. They've been putting us on teams. They've been blue or red or Packers or Vikings or whoever plays in the NBA. I'm not a big fan. But competition, but teams. They've been prepping us for this forever. And I'm tired of everybody sitting silently and not coming together. Just remember, faith in silence gave me the courage to hear myself honestly. Faith in silence gave me the courage to hear myself honestly. So let's get out there and try to do better. Simplify your life, simplify your system. And I want to show you how it's all done. So I've got, I actually installed a new camera. If you actually saw what it looked like, you'd probably laugh at me for it, but it's what I've got. It's that, I don't have all the money in the world, and obviously my production's relatively low, but I try dang hard. So take that. So let's take a second, and if you're just listening, it might just be kind of like shmee, whatever. But if you want to get back into this thing, I don't know, it's about 55 minutes in or so to the podcast. If you're just listening and not watching, I just do a little rundown and simplify this a little bit. So let's simplify our system. And if you have never journaled before in your life, I'm going to give you a little tutorial. I am not the guru of journaling. I just kind of put together a simple way to get started. And then after you get started, you can do you, right? But this is an easy way to prevent yourself from failing. What don't you need? You do not need a fancy journal. I showed you earlier my silly drawing diary or sketch diary that I've been using, which is fantastic. I'm just gonna move some stuff around here and change my camera angle for you guys. And blammo! Hey, look at that! I've got a camera above me now. I'm pretty thrilled about it. So this is my this is the one that I've been using for all each day, just daily entries and other things that kind of come up, and you can have more than one, right? So this here is just there's a place, JT's in town or whatever, that sells random stuff, and a lot of it, by the way. And so I went in there and I scooped up this sketch diary, and I use it. I'm not gonna open it because those are my personal thoughts right inside of their book. And you don't need to know all of the stuff that goes scrambling through my brain. So we'll throw that aside, and we'll start with something new. And I just got this. I was like praying to myself the other day on my walk. I'm like, oh, geez, I got this journaling thing come up. I ordered this the other day, and they're available on my website or on shopundivided.com. But now I finally got it. I didn't know if it was going to come in time, but it did. And I'm pretty thrilled about it. So right here is the Undivided journal. They're available online, and you can check those out. I'll put a link directly to it. Otherwise, if you would like to get your hands on one of these for free, one of these beautiful journals for free, if you visit my website, Undivided.com, and you go to the Contact Me page, I will put that directly in the description as well. I am happy to send you a free journal, and I look forward to hearing from you. And hopefully, it doesn't cost me $1 million, but I don't have that. I'm going to make sure that you can get one for free. But you need to give me your information, and you need to tell me who you are and give me a little backstory of you. I don't need to know everything, but a little bit of work for some free merch. I think it's a good deal. I want you to be a part of this thing for real. So here's our Undivided journal, and what we're going to do is we're going to start in the beginning, and I can just write in here Adam's journal, or whatever you want it to be. If I misspell things, you can make fun of me all you want to, but you're going to misspell things. It doesn't need to be perfect. And each person that gets a journal, I'll put a personal message in and give you a little signature in there, and I'll just give you one of these little guys here. Not that it's going to be worth nothing, but it's me. And I'm super thrilled that you're here and super thrilled that you're going to be a part of this. So you do not need a fancy journal. Drawing books work great. Standard notebooks work. You do not need super long entries. And this is where I failed in the beginning. I was trying to do these gigantic entries, and it just got kind of taxing in the beginning, and I stopped writing right away. So don't worry about having perfect writing. Nobody's going to read it but you in most cases, unless you want somebody else to see your idea or whatever. And chicken scratches are perfect for you. They're perfect for me. Thankfully, my sister taught me when I was young how to write, and she made it so I write like a girl. So have a simple format, okay? I'm just going to write this down in the very beginning of the book. So the first page right here, the empty page, I'm just going to put a handful of questions that I can go back to keep it simple for myself, right? So we're going to start with what did I do well? Right? So easy. What did I avoid? What am I feeling? whether now or earlier in the day. Like I said, we want it to be as simple as possible so that it's realistic and you can accomplish these things. What needs to change tomorrow? Question mark. Did I accomplish yesterday's goals? And then you can continue with why or why not. What prevented you from doing that? So that's there you go. I mean, that is as simple as it possibly gets. And we can go into a little more into the journaling thing as well. I just wanted to get you guys started, and know that it's not as hard as it seems. And sometimes, you look at it and you're like, gosh, man, this is daunting. Do I really want to get into my own head? It doesn't have to start with you being like a total savant with it. You don't have to sit here and write yourself poetry. If you want to, be my guest. I would love to hear it. Share it with me. Send it in my comments link. Put it into the comments of the videos. Tell us how you did, man. I mean, that's what I want this to become. I want it to become a group of people that aren't afraid of the world. They're not afraid of themselves, and they're not afraid of what other people may think of them. I sit here on a daily basis and share some of the stuff that I know scares me. And it scares me that somebody might try to utilize that information to, use it against me or prey upon me. Bring it on. I know that at any day of the week I could have my identity stolen, but I don't let that ruin me who I am every single day. I talked about the 5 easy hard questions to ask yourself daily as well. And I've got the 5 super simple questions. And then these other ones are pretty well the same for the most part. Like I said before, like what did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What is one thing I can improve for tomorrow? See if it fits. Whee! Bring it on down next time. Who am I becoming through my daily actions? I'd like to say that I can multitask, but that's not a real thing. People always say they can, but really what it's called task changing. A brain can barely walk and chew gum at the same time. So as I'm talking to you, I can't write, right? So I'll shut up so I can write. Who am I becoming through my daily actions? Bring it on down. Question mark. What kind of example was I for those who are watching? And that's anybody, man. That the people. What was the example, or what kind of example was I for those who are watching? That's people on social media too, and some of the comments that we see and some of the comments that we write. I'm guilty today of writing a comment, and I saw some hypocrisy in some of the stuff that people were saying, and I called somebody out for it, and I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have just kept my peace, but um, sometimes I feel like when somebody is saying something that is super hypocritical, it's not my place to even say anything, and I probably shouldn't have, but I did anyway. And I didn't say anything mean. I just called them out for it, and I let them know, hey, you're saying stuff here that is against your ideals, and you're saying it right in front of all of us. Watch what you have to say. And they came back and acted like they had no idea what was going on, but not everybody's smart, and the problem is that I'm not the smartest person in the world, but at least I can critically think. And there's a lot of people out there these days that don't have a high intelligence, but they have every answer at their fingertips when it comes to social issues and information. I mean, the internet is phenomenal for finding information. It's also phenomenal for finding things that are not good, um, unfortunately, as well. But getting into journaling, the thing that really matters here isn't perfection. Consistency matters more than the perfection does when it comes to journaling. You need to just become consistent. Make it a daily thing. Um, Make it a weekly thing. You don't even have to be daily. And if you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. Do it again the next day, right? Let it go. I've been dating my entries just so that I know when and who and where and what and how. You don't have to date your entries. You don't have to keep track of how many days you've been doing it. You can just write in each page these simple questions. As you saw, you can take a peek at it. But the thing is, the main point of it all is that you can't change a life that you don't first examine. You can try to make better choices or eat better food here, or try not to drink as much pop or whatever. But to really, really hone in and make your life better, you have to be able to self examine. And writing these things down forces you to face your patterns, your excuses, your growth. Like I think that's one of the biggest parts of the whole thing is is seeing your growth on paper rather than just kind of, because it's almost like when you go to lose weight, right? Or when you gain weight, it goes the other way, like literally growing the direction you don't want to. Each day it's so incremental at times that you don't see it for yourself, right? You're working on losing weight, and you've been doing it day after day after day. You're grinding, you're doing your thing, and you're just like, ugh, I just don't feel like I'm losing that much weight. I think I should be losing more. Um, but then you see somebody that you haven't seen in several months. You're like, wow, you look great. Have you been exercising? Like, if you've ever gone and tried to lose weight, you know darn well that's happened to you. And incremental change is hard to see unless you're documenting it, right? If you took a picture of yourself every single day on your weight loss journey and you just put it on the wall, and I'm not saying to do that, but if you were to, like, you'd go down that line of pictures, and you would see it. It would be right there for you. It would force you to see it. And you'd be like, wow, I am losing weight. Wow, I am looking better. Wow, I do look healthier. And that is the same with your mental health. You start writing these things down day after day, and you'll start to see some changes in your writing patterns and and how often you're actually, you know, being able to write down the things that you did do well that day, um, and less of where did I fall short. And don't kid yourself. And you don't need to be hyper psychotic critical, but each day we each fall short on something. Like today, for myself, I spent too much time on my phone this morning. It wasn't an exceptional amount of time. It wasn't hours, but it was longer than I wanted to. Sure, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but if I tell myself that and I see that that is the problem, then maybe tomorrow I'll spend even less time on my phone. Again, it's hard because this is where we meet now. It's easy to reach the masses this way. It's easy to get out there this way. You can do it fairly cheaply. It makes it a lot easier. But you get to actually see your growth. It's like Michael Phelps's diary or his journal that he keeps, is that he writes down in there the things that that are detrimental to him, and writing down these visual aids of how to become better. And your direction, you get to see your direction change. You get to see it in real time in writing, and it will make it so that you can get more and more excited every day that you do better. Again, none of this is easy, because if it was, we'd all be just the coolest and most awesome, rich, amazing, beautiful, great people that have ever walked the earth. But we're all sinners. We all have our problems, and we all need to work hard to get to be the best versions of ourselves for us, for our children, for our friends, for our siblings, for God. Every time, man, you got to give it up. And most often, honesty is the beginning of your rebuilding journey. And if this episode has helped you, start your journal tonight. It just can be on a napkin, on a piece of paper. I don't care if you're sitting at the bar. Write down some of these things and start to reflect. We're not the best version of ourselves out of the womb. Maybe we are right away. We haven't done anything bad yet. But, grab a notebook, grab a piece of paper, grab a napkin, grab a letter, junk mail. Oh my gosh, so much junk mail. And start telling yourself the truth today. Start telling yourself the truth. Stop hiding behind lies. Stop hiding behind substances. Stop hiding behind poor behaviors or comfort. Go out there and get it, because you put yourself in a little bit of discomfort today, it makes everything easier the next, and feel free and visit me at iamundivided.com. It's iamundivided.com. Head over there and go to my contact page. Tell me about your journey. Tell me about your life a little bit, and get one of these bad boys for free if you do so. Get your email in there for me. You can get on my mailing list, and we can start a group of people, a group of men that can really be there for each other in the most positive ways. Don't forget to show your support and head over to shopundivided.com or go to iamundivided.com and hit the shop button down below, the Undivided shop. And grab some fresh gear that I've got out there. I've got hats and I've got shirts and workout gear, all of it, just so that you can show the world that you're a part of something special and that you remain undivided with me and yourself and the others that are involved. So I'm your host, Adam Maxwell. Always excited to be here week after week. I'll be here for you as long as you're here for me and beyond. I love you all, and we'll check you all later. Peace out. Oh, I just got done charging up this hill. Best sliding hill in Wabasha County. Right here. But you gotta build it. Here it is. Nice and slow. Bear's gonna piss me off. This thing gets ripping. You go so fast. Yeah, just do a little banks here and there. Oh God, here we go. Oh God, here we go. Excuse me. Little bear. Hey. Uh-oh. Like a little kid. Woo! That's the nastiest hill ever.